a.k.a. DJ Chili J, a.k.a. Sport Coat. And just so you know, the wife says she is never going to call me Chappie Fox because my head is already too big. To quote her, she says, baby, you don't have a forehead, you've got a 5 head. So I guess Chappie Fox is out the window. I sincerely appreciate the warm reception that my initial audio post received, and I look forward to hearing more from all of you. And remember, everybody, just to get things started on the right foot, you woke up this morning, okay? So already you're winning, okay? Because a lot of people didn't wake up this morning. Of the various comments that were posted by listeners, there was one person whose words resonated with me. And just so you know, everybody's anonymous on here unless they otherwise wish to be identified. This particular person commented that they are already now too afraid to say what they really think, too suspicious of everyone around them to speak their minds and say what they really think. And that is where we are going to begin today's audio cast. I can remember over the years, for the longest time, people, always liking to point to certain events that occur in society, and they'll say things like, this is a sign that we're moving into a world like the one depicted in the book 1984. Or they might point to something, that thing that just happened, it's so Orwellian. Or, things are happening just like George Orwell's book predicted. Well, guess what, everybody? We're no longer waiting for that society to arrive. It's here. It is here. And it didn't take 4 years for this guy, Donald Trump, to take us there. It took less than 90 days, okay? Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the book 1984, the story is that of a society that claims itself to be utopian, the most perfect society there is, but it's actually one of the prime examples of a dystopian world, which is the absolute opposite. In that society, for instance, they had a ministry of truth. Okay, it's what they called this department. With a ministry of truth that was actually responsible for all of the false propaganda that flooded the media each day. And then there were the thought police who monitored everything that was written down, everything that was being said. And then they also had the spies, okay, who were walking around, watching everybody, listening to what was being said. And many of those spies were children. So now, what exactly have we seen in our society that is so reminiscent of the 1984 book, of the so-called utopia that was actually dystopia? What have we seen, and what have we seen in less than 90 days? Well, first of all, we've seen the deliberate start of a trade war with the rest of the world, with the implementing of tariffs. And rest assured, this affects you, because all of the small businesses that you shop at will now have to raise their prices, raise the prices that you pay for things. Some of them might end up going out of business. And because of this trade war, a lot of the people who own stocks and companies, they were dealt severe blows to their retirement portfolios as we watched the stock market lose almost $8 trillion in just a few days. And, by the way, I've got friends who voted for this guy and who I know lost money from their retirement portfolios. And I'm afraid to call them and ask how they're doing, because I know how they're doing right now, Another thing that happened, and this is which points to the so-called Ministry of Truth. Our very own Ministry of Truth, what they were doing at the same time that the stock market was crashing. While you were sitting there watching the bottom line, the ticker tape, watching your life savings evaporate into thin air, news stations like Fox News alerted everyone that they had breaking news, and I couldn't make this up, people, all right? Fox News said, we have breaking news. Now, this is while you're watching your life savings dwindle away on the TV. They said, we have breaking news. We have video footage from 1992 of Donald Trump. He's at a charity event throwing a football through this very small hole in a sheet. I am not making this up, people. While you were watching the stocks fall, watching the value of your retirement savings decline, everybody's favorite Republican news channel was busy trying to divert, deflect, and get you to look at shiny objects over in another direction. Another thing that is happening that is very similar to the 1984 society is that we're now seeing foreign students being arrested on the streets and at the universities that they attend. And for what reason? Because they have the nerve, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to protest against what many people say is an open genocide of the Palestinian people by the Netanyahu-led government in Israel. And let me clarify something before I go further. What I am saying now is not meant to be taken as a condemnation of the Israeli people as a whole. What I am condemning is the corrupt government of Benjamin Netanyahu, who is himself now considered a war criminal and has several indictments awaiting him at the International Criminal Courts. What the Hamas group did to Israeli people was horrible, horrific, tragic, terrible, all of those words. But at the same time, there is a significantly large percentage of the Israeli population that is now strongly opposed to what the Netanyahu government is doing. But if you're not watching the right news, then the world will be burning down even. And you'll still be watching Trump throw footballs at a charity event. Breaking news, you know. And just so you know, with me, the U.S. media has just lost all credibility with me. They have exposed themselves now as being nothing but ratings whores who care for nothing but playing both sides in order to try and get the best sound bites and the best ratings. Nowadays, I feel like if you truly want to know what's going on, I earnestly suggest that you go check out BBC News, Al Jazeera, Deutsche Welle TV, France 24, The Guardian, and best of all, Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman. And so, like I said, you know, here's what's crazy. They're arresting and deporting people who voice opposition to Netanyahu, claiming that these protesters are anti-Semitic for doing so. But at the same time, this administration is turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to all of the racial slurs being spoken against Jewish people nowadays by people calling themselves Republicans, calling themselves Christians. They ignore the pseudo-white Christian nationalist groups who claim to support Israel, yet sponsor marches comprised of white men carrying torches, shouting, "Jews will not replace us. Blood and soil, Jews will not replace us." They turn a blind eye to the fact that Trump recently had dinner with a known Holocaust denier, Timothy Hale. They turn a blind eye to the fact that Trump's acting attorney general for the Washington, D.C. district, Ed Martin, publicly praised Hitler at a gathering recently and said that, quote, Hitler was right. They ignore, this administration ignores the statements of Republican officials like Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, who tweeted that, quote, the Jews use space lasers to start all of the wildfires that happen each year in California. End quote. Listen, I'm running out of time, so I've got to end here. But, hey, feel free to fact check everything that I've said, because, hey, I write checks that don't bounce, okay? And I'd love to get your feedback, and we'll use some of it, hopefully. But in closing, 1984 has arrived, people, and something has to be done now. I want to leave you with a famous saying by a pastor named Martin Niemöller, who lived during the time of 1940s Nazi-occupied Germany. He said this. He said, quote, first they came for the socialists, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was nobody left to speak for me. That's today's audio cast, everybody. God bless you. And remember, if you're not upset, it's because you're not paying attention. Peace.